I never thought my daughter would betray me. But when she showed up with the man who destroyed my life, I realized family loyalty isn't guaranteed. My name's David. I'm 58 years old, and for most of my life I believed I understood family. I believed loyalty meant something. I grew up in a small Midwestern town, where handshakes still meant trust and promises were as good as written contracts. When I married Linda, my college sweetheart, I thought we'd beaten the odds. We didn't have much, but we built a life together. 2 kids, Sarah and Michael. A little 3-bedroom house with a backyard where I planted an oak tree the week Sarah was born. For years, that house was full of laughter, the kind that makes your chest ache in the best way. Christmas mornings in pajamas, backyard barbecues with the neighbors, long summer nights catching fireflies with the kids. I wasn't rich, but I thought I had it all. But here's the thing about life. Sometimes you don't notice the cracks forming until the whole damn foundation gives out. It started with Linda's new job. She worked at a real estate firm, and that's where she met him. Carl. Tall. Charming. The kind of man who walked into a room and made everyone notice. The opposite of me in every way. I was steady, quiet, maybe even boring. But Carl? He was fire. I didn't see it at first. I thought he was just her colleague. Then came the late nights. The phone calls she wouldn't answer in front of me. The perfume I didn't recognize. And finally, the truth. I came home early one Friday. Walked into my own house. And there he was. Carl. Sitting at my kitchen table, drinking coffee like he belonged there. Linda didn't even look surprised. I'll never forget the way my daughter Sarah, just 16 then, came downstairs at that exact moment. Her eyes wide. She knew something was wrong, but she couldn't understand how deep the wound was about to go. That night shattered everything. Linda left. The divorce papers came. And Carl didn't just take my wife, he humiliated me. Took her to the same restaurants we used to go to, paraded her around town, like he was erasing me from my own life. For years I swallowed that pain. Buried it deep. Focused on raising my kids because if I had them, maybe I could survive the loss. After the divorce, I became a single father in every sense. I helped Sarah with college applications, stayed up late reviewing essays, taught Michael how to drive in the empty high school parking lot. Money was tight, but I never let them go without. I worked overtime, skipped vacations, drove my truck into the ground just to pay for their futures. And when Sarah walked across the stage at her college graduation, I cried harder than I ever thought possible. Not because of pride alone, but because I thought, this is it, this is proof I did something right. I thought my kids were my anchor, my reason for surviving the betrayal of their mother. But betrayal has a cruel way of circling back. It was last year on a quiet Sunday evening. I was making dinner when Sarah came over. She was glowing, nervous but excited. "Dad, I want you to meet someone," she said, her eyes darting around the room like she was afraid of my reaction. I expected a boyfriend. Some guy from work, maybe. And then he walked in. Carl. The same Carl who destroyed my marriage. The same Carl who laughed in my face when I confronted him years ago. Time had aged him, but not enough. I knew that smirk anywhere. Sarah's hand slipped into his. "Dad," she said softly, "this is Carl, my fiancé." I can't explain what happened inside me at that moment. My blood ran cold, my heart felt like it stopped. For a second I thought it was some cruel joke. That any moment Sarah would burst out laughing and say, "Gotcha, Dad." But it wasn't a joke. She looked at him the way her mother once did. With love. With trust. And Carl? He looked at me with the same smug satisfaction, like he'd won again. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, to throw him out of my house. But my voice came out barely a whisper. "Sarah, do you know who this man is?" "I do," she said. "I know what he did. But Dad, he's changed. He's good to me." Changed. Maybe to her. But to me, Carl was a wound that never healed. That night was the closest I've ever come to losing myself completely. I told Sarah I couldn't accept it. That I wouldn't give my blessing. That Carl would never be welcome in my home. She cried. Begged me to try. Said love wasn't simple, that people could change, that maybe I was holding on to old pain. But how do you explain to your child that some wounds never close? That some betrayals cut so deep, forgiveness isn't possible? Carl just stood there, silent, watching me break. And in that silence I realized he didn't need to say a word. He'd already won. In the weeks that followed, Sarah pulled away from me. Phone calls became short, visits became rare. Michael, my son, sided with me. He said Sarah was blinded, that Carl was manipulating her. But it didn't matter. Sarah was an adult and she had made her choice. The day she told me they'd set a wedding date, I felt something inside me collapse. I didn't go. I couldn't. Watching my daughter marry the man who destroyed my family? It would have killed me. Now months later, Sarah barely speaks to me. She's building a life with him, and I'm left alone in a house that feels emptier than ever. Sometimes I wonder if I should have swallowed my pride, pretended for her sake. But then I remember the nights I cried myself to sleep after Linda left. The nights I promised myself I would never let Carl win again. And yet he did. Because betrayal isn't just when someone stabs you in the back. Sometimes, it's when the person you love most takes the hand of your enemy and calls him family. I thought I'd lost everything once. But the cruelest part of betrayal is learning you can lose it all again.